The SS Suevic was a moderately sized passenger ship built for the White Star Line between 1899 and March 9, 1901. The ship set sail on its maiden voyage only 14 days later on March 23, 1901. The Suevic was the last of a class of 5 ocean liners deemed the Jubilee class. No major issues struck the Suevic until February 2, 1907, when the vessel departed from the port of Melbourne. The new Suevic should have been destroyed on this voyage, but fate intervened. Heavy fog, sharp rocks, and strong winds were common off the Cornish coast of the United Kingdom. It was these conditions that should have ended the Suevic. Thick fog cloaked the ship, and the crew had to use landmarks such as the Lizard Lighthouse. Using the lighthouse, they had determined their position. The crew determined they were 10 miles or roughly 16 kilometers away. Unfortunately, they had miscalculated, and the Suevic was 16 miles or 26 kilometers from their estimated position. The miscalculation is blamed on the light beam cast from the Lizard Lighthouse being thrown off by the fog. This is the same concept that occurred the night the Titanic went down some 5 years later. Suddenly, rocks were sighted in front of the ship, and attempts were made to avoid them. However, these attempts came too late as the Suevic became jammed firmly on the reef. Fortunately, there were nearby lifeboat stations, and everybody was successfully evacuated from the ship. The same could not be said for the SS Suevic. The bow was damaged, but surprisingly, most of the machinery, like the engines and boilers, were intact. So it was decided that the ship would be salvaged. Many vessels attempted to pull the Suevic off the rocks, but it was too firmly stuck. The ship even ended up farther stranded when winds and waves pushed her further into trouble. There would need to be a different way to salvage the ship than simply pulling it from where it was. So the Liverpool and Glasgow Salvage Company decided on a bizarre new method. The Suevic would be deliberately cut in half, and the undamaged stern section would be towed or sailed to a shipyard, leaving the damaged bow behind. It was a daring scheme, but the White Star Line agreed. So the salvage company planted several explosive charges onto the ship to separate it from the stern. As modern cutting tools had yet to exist, when the Suevic was finally broken apart, the stern sailed in reverse under her own power to Southampton, where a new bow was added to the ship, and the Suevic was put back into service like nothing had happened. The Suevic even ended up serving in a war. She was eventually scuttled in the Second World War and sank into the ocean's depths.